hunting season's right coming up here. Probably in another couple of weeks we'll be bear hunting. Another week or two after that, well actually a couple weeks after that, we'll be out in the deer woods up here in the Northeast for the first time. What we used to use and what we use now for tree stands and for bow hunting setups, for gun hunting setups, if you're going to use a tree stand, yeah, like most everybody else, we have tons of ladder stands, and I have old steel ladder sticks that go up 22 feet with a old steel cheap lock on. Those stands work tried and true. They're not going to fail. More deer killed out of those around here than any other stands going, and probably more around the country than anything else that's out on the market. But back in I'm 49 now, back in my probably mid to late 20s, when I was really diving into bow hunting hard. We always bow hunted, but not like you did after I got back from college. You got settled in a job and could figure out what I wanted to do for my off time. What I found was having a half a dozen fixed stands, whether it be ladder or lock-ons or whatever, placed in the woods was fine if you did tons and tons of scouting. But as the season would progress, a food source would change, or just go from early season mid-September to mid-October. All the leaves fall down. They move out of their summer travel patterns, and they start going into their fall patterns. You have to do a big side out rotate, and it's just a pain in the butt, to be honest. So the next best thing at the time was a climber. Now, I don't have any problems with the comfort of that tree stand. That tree stand is the most comfortable tree stand I've ever sat in. I can sit for 15 hours in that thing and never be uncomfortable. I've upgraded it with a deluxe seat. That's just the Summit, what they call a Viper Light. I don't even know if they make it anymore. I have my little tree hopper safety belt that I keep stuck right in there at all times. But that stand is rock solid when it's in a tree. It's an amazing stand, except for the fact that the way I walk in the woods with it loaded up, especially late season where I'm putting on, maybe an extra sweater or an extra jacket, that whole setup can weigh close to 32, 33 pounds. I'm also not a great big guy, so the cables and everything, once stowed away and packed up, still either ride above my head or they hit the back of my thighs almost down to my knees. Also, it's wider than my shoulders. So if you put a good, I don't have any good backpack straps on it right now, but if you put a good set of backpack straps, the weight's not so much the problem for me. That's not my biggest issue. My biggest issue is I can't walk through the woods quietly. If I know where I'm going, a known setup, on the edge of a clear cut, on the edge of a beaver bog or a great big swale swamp where I want to be, sometimes when we go, if I can get a tree that's straight enough with no branches on the edge of something like that, I might go up 30, 35 feet with my rifle. Have no problem with that. Heights don't bother me whatsoever. So that stand serves a purpose, except for, like I said, if you're just kind of going in to a new area, or you haven't been back to this area in a bit and things have most likely changed from early season, and you kind of want to go hunt, fresh sign or whatever, walking through thick brush with a stand like this can be a test of patience. And anybody who owns one knows what I'm talking about. So here in the last few years, I've constantly been saying, geez, I used to be an arborist. I used to, run crane and cut trees down, and I have an arborist saddle. I have always said, why don't I just take that? And to be honest, I never got the gumption up enough to go do it. Well, then YouTube comes along and I start watching when I get bored. And now saddle hunting is a thing. And this completely intrigues me. Because now I can buy either a small backpack, or I actually have a fanny pack built to specifically by a company that actually holds my sticks and my platforms and everything that I need. So I have transitioned to a saddle. Now, there is a million choices, and I live up here in Maine, so it's even harder to get your hands on these because it's not, I don't know if it's it's not a big enough thing up here for stores to carry, or what the deal is with it, but it's very hard to get your hands on one to try one. You can go on to like saddlehunter.com and hopefully meet somebody in your area that might have one, and usually guys are pretty good. Like if you say, hey, look, how is it, or advice, a lot of them actually offer, hey, why don't you come on down, we'll meet up some weekend, and you can slap it up in a tree in a park somewhere or something. But I use a Custom Gear Modifications Cobra saddle. So this is what they call a one-piece saddle. It's got a little hook in the back, so when I walk in, that's the profile. It's like, there's nothing to it when I walk in. It's, I don't have a great big stand holding on to me, but that's how I walk in the woods. I'll tighten this bridge up, stow it away. But I walk in, so that's got my ropes. My pack will be on. My pack fits, it sits right above it. But this thing weighs about 2 pounds, 2.5 pounds, with ropes and everything on it, maybe 3.5. We'll just say 4 to say on the heavy side. I have since gone out and purchased a new set of Latitude Carbon SS sticks. 4 sticks, 2 8ers. I can get up 18.5 feet. And this weighs about, totally set up right now, I think I put it on a scale, weighs just about 5.2 pounds. So a saddle, say 4 pounds on the heavy, sticks, 5 pounds, so 9 pounds there. Then you have to have a platform or something to stand on. I have just a Hawk platform that I've modified a little bit. I don't like the standoff the way it comes from the factory, so I just bought a $10 standoff from like Novix, which is a tree stand maker, and replacement part. I painted it up, did what's called a Cobra weave on it to give me a little more traction. That weighs like, I think it's like 2 pounds. So for 11 pounds compared to 32. Also, my pack carries these sticks. I can either carry them like this, and as you can see, they are just about shoulder width. But if I put them behind me, they barely come out the edge of my hips, and they don't stick off of my back. I mean, you can see the profile, it's nothing. So that is worth its weight to gold for me. Like I can literally grab my bow or my gun and go into a new area. With a bow, generally I have an idea where I'm going. Being up here in the big woods, you kind of got to, remember from year to year, or, hunting year after year after year after year, where the deer sign is and stuff. Because in October, our bucks don't move very often. They're just busy eating and getting fat and getting ready to rut. And we don't have that guaranteed agricultural field a lot of times up here in the Northeast, or big soybean fields and stuff like that. It's more big woods, old farmland. That's kind of what's in behind me here. Cuttings and things like that. Beaver bogs, which does narrow down the movement. But it's very easy to identify that stuff during bow season. I kind of have an idea. Now, during gun season, a lot of times, I'll grab the gun and just go still hunting. And as I'm still hunting, I'm walking around. I'm constantly looking, man, if you just sat right here in this tree, would that not be the place to kill a big buck? And I miss out on a lot of opportunities because of that. because sometimes sitting on the ground just isn't it. You need to be up 10 feet to maybe look over those alders that are going out into that swale swamp. And if you can get up even 10 feet, it would make all the difference in the world. So this saddle thing has completely changed the way that I hunt. Some of the other things that I'm gonna try. So last year was the first year I saddle hunted. I shot a deer out of the saddle during expanded archery, a nice doe. And shooting out of a saddle is a little different. I use this tree stand here as my super mobile platform, kind of a hybrid system. This is actually, how far ahead of the game were these people? This is a lock-on wind walker. That whole tree stand right there weighs 5.2 pounds. That's unheard of. It's super duper small. So if you have trouble with, small stuff being up high, like I said, I have a size 9 boot, and that's how little this stand is right here. It's real little. Personally, for me, I love that. I love that. It's not the most comfortable seat in the world. So what I do is I use my saddle as my safety belt, hook my tether up, and just pull it to the side. And when when my butt gets sore from sitting in there, I just fold the seat up, turn around, deploy my panel on my saddle, and I just sit back in my saddle and give myself a break. I stand a lot of times in a stand. That's why the climber, when you go to stand, it doesn't crinkle up as good, but it's so comfortable. A lot of times I end up, all but falling asleep in it all the time. But I'm also going to try this contraption here. So this is what's called a trophy line wind walker. Trophy line wingman. Sorry about that. It's a platform, saddle platform on top of a double step stick. I needed a platform last year, and I thought, I needed to have like 20 sticks to get up, 30 feet high. And the reality is once I got used to using an 8er like this, I'm comfortable with 2 on the bottom, the second stick to have 1. That's what I have set up on these new Latitude carbon sticks. This is a double, that's a single. And like I said, that's 18.5 feet with those sticks. I built it, just finished it today actually. It's going to be used for what they call one sticking. So you take one stick, and I'm not going to go through it all today because that's too much, but there's tons of videos on YouTube about it. This is going to be an early season thing because that whole setup there, that whole setup only weighs like 2 pounds, 2.5 pounds. And so no bulk at all. And what I see myself doing is early season when I'm not wearing tons of bulky clothes, I'm not having to bring in extra clothes to keep warm on top of that. I can see myself using that because it does take a little bit more effort to get up and down the tree. But once you get up the tree, you use this as your platform here to stand on. But when you come down, you rappel out of the tree. So it's zip, and you're all the way to the bottom. There's no like shimmying down like there is in the climber. There's no pulling sticks off, things like that. You don't have to pack a platform. It's all in one stick. It's something that you got to practice and you got to get used to, and it's not for everybody. I'm not so sure if it's even going to be for me. I've done it a couple of times. I got to keep trying it. But the big thing that for me, on top of the packability, the mobile, I don't have to worry about where I'm going, is this climber, as comfortable as it is, you see this tree. This is what you need. You need something no smaller than that, and no bigger than this. And it's got to be pretty much perfectly straight. I mean, you can have a little lean, you can adjust a little bit to it. Pretty much has to have no branches. God forbid you have a branch that big. So what ends up happening is you could find a great place to go. Wonderful, huge scrape, big rubs everywhere, and a cattle path going right by you. But if you don't have a tree you can get your climber into, that perfect straight, no branches, the right diameter, you're gonna have to either sacrifice and make a longer shot because you got to go back in another 20 yards. With a gun, who cares, but with a bow, that becomes a big issue. So with a saddle and sticks, like the Latitude sticks down here, these sticks, this one stick, even to a point, you need a little bit better tree for the one stick, even though some of the guys that are really good with it can go and do amazing things with that, which I'm sure if I practiced I could too, but I just haven't had the time. But there pretty much is not a tree in the woods, for the most part, except one that's way too big. And when I say way too big, I'm talking about some tree that's probably, 4 feet, 5 feet in diameter. That's my only limitation, is how long my straps that hold my stands and my platforms in the tree are. I mean, it's pretty amazing. I can climb trees. I just did a review on those sticks because they're brand new to me, and they're brand new to the industry. And I just did a review on those things where I put those sticks on a tree that big around, and when I pulled the am steel that holds the tree, that holds it on the stick onto the tree, when I pulled the am steel off, the stick stayed there. I had to pull the stick off. It bit into the bark and it held itself. Now you can't climb it like that, but that's even a tree that small. And what you find with saddle hunting, which I never really realized until I started doing it, and you can hear guys say it all the time on YouTube or seminars or whatever, but until you do it, you don't realize how bad you stick out when you're in a climber, or even in a fixed stand, even though I use this totally different than a regular fixed stand. I use it more like a saddle platform than I do a tree stand. But you set up on a tree, like this is where the deer are coming from, that's how I'm setting up in a climber. Now on a saddle, you would literally be right here. You'd be on the opposite side from where the deer, using that tree as cover. It's an adjustment, I'm not gonna lie. It's really weird on how, because I've hunted with that for 25 years, so it was an adjustment for me last year to look at the right tree and figure out what I was doing. Once you get that figured out, not only are you using the tree, but you can actually go up into trees with tons of branches on them and use the branches as cover. So guess what you don't have to do anymore? 20 to 25 feet, where I always hunted with that. Sometimes even a little bit higher. That makes your shot angles now even steeper. Saddle platform, the way I use this tree stand. One sticking, there's no limit. Like, you can go as high as you want. The only limit is your rappel rope. How long is your rappel rope? That's about it. That's your only limitation. But I can get into any tree I want with tons of branches and use those branches as cover. And when you use those branches as cover, the deer, one, don't pick you out of the tree nearly as bad. And when you go to shoot, now your shots are more out here like this. They're not like this at 25 feet or 30 feet. Most of us bow hunters try to set our stands up for, anywhere between 18 and 25 yard shots. At least I think that's pretty much standard. I did work as a guide in Iowa for almost 10 years, and that was pretty much the outfitter's request, was that, yeah, make sure they can shoot out to 35 or 40, but make the shots 18 to 25. That's generally people's comfort zone. And when you're doing that, like I said, if you can get lower, granted, you got to play the wind a little more if you're lower in the tree, but I would rather have to play the wind, be able to sit in any tree I want to be in, and have the cover, because they're not going to pick me off unless I do some stupid dance move. There's a little adjustment what I found in a saddle is I instead of just sitting there like a rock, like I can in that, I find myself swaying a little bit back and forth, almost like I'm in a rocking chair. Why, I don't know. I guess I've listened to a bunch of other guys online, and that's kind of what they've said too. That's what a lot of guys complain about a saddle is. But for me, that's such a little teeny tiny thing compared to the ability to literally get in any tree and not having to know where I'm going before I go. You know, with this, like I told you, I was never able to truly just throw it on my back and go walk in the woods for 2 miles through a thick, nasty beech whippet area and do anything but alarm every deer within a half a mile that I was coming, pinging and panging. Like I said, once I got there, I was so comfortable, I probably could have slept right in the tree all day long if I'd wanted. The saddle allows me, and this stand here allows me to get into so many things that I never was able to do before. It's funny because this stand literally is 34, 35 years old. It's so far ahead of its time. Now, does it have the cool batwing brackets like a Lone Wolf or a Beast stand or anything, Novix, anything like that, XOP? No, it doesn't. But I've done some slight mods to it. I painted it with patio furniture paint, so it's textured, so my boots don't squeak on it anymore. I wrapped it in stealth strips, added extra padding on this front bar, and then I Cobra weaved the front of it. One, I just like the way a Cobra weave looks, but two, a lot like up here, the bigger thing for me with the Cobra weaving is it allows me more traction if I'm out on the edge of my platform or on the, I feel that when I got my feet, because it's so small. I mean, it is small. I feel it on underneath my boot, so I know right where I am on the stand without having to look down. I'm also getting to the point where I want to start trying to hunt with a recurve. And with a saddle, so this is your bridge and you got your tether, say this is my tether, and you're attached to the tree like this. When you're shooting, we're so used to standing flat-footed on a tree stand, a platform, or like that climber, that your base is your feet. So your form is built in a way that, and you've gotten used to shooting that way because I've hunted that way all my life. With a saddle, you're tethered. So all your pressure is on your hips. I don't even notice it on my feet when I'm shooting. The hard adjustment for me, maybe not for everybody, but for me, was now where I used to bend at my waist is now where I was attached to the tree, and that's where all my base to shoot with, that's where it was from, is my waist. Just a different feel. But I threw a target out in the woods, climbed up the tree, shot, probably, I don't know, a couple hours, 2 or 3 times. And I was comfortable enough. And like I said, it just, yes, you want to set up with a saddle. You're going to want to set up so that your shots are on your strong side. And this area here is super easy. And you've got the tree right in front of you, so you can wait as that deer's coming by, till he gets behind the tree, draw and whatever. If he comes in on the opposite weak side, you just got to get used to, somehow, taking your bow, movement, and you shuffle on your feet and you get to the other side. The big thing you'll hear about online is that, saddle hunting allows you to shoot 360. Tree stands do too. That type of a comment doesn't make sense to me. A tree stand, I don't know, but you're sitting in the stand. Now your strong side's here. All this is super easy. Out back you, super easy. But let's face it, if you got to turn around, you can just hug that tree. This is all good. You can shoot back this way. You can't shoot 360 out of a tree stand. I don't understand that. You're just different, that's all. And like I said, for me, what I do with this is they don't make the pack anymore. I have a Mystery Ranch Pop-Up 28, which has the pack, but it also has a meat shelf area where you just unhook it from a frame that's that you can extend up to as big as a normal frame pack. And this tree stand is so small, it fits inside of that meat shelf. It's no higher than about mid of my head, and it doesn't come down to my waist when it's in the pack. And it definitely, as you can see, it's only 15 inches wide. It doesn't come outside of my shoulders. So this, I believe, is going to be more of my late season stuff. I did late season stuff with the saddle last year, and it was perfectly fine. But I find the bigger and bulkier stuff that I have, the more little bit of room I want. I wear different boots at that point. I love my Hoffman 10-inch mountain hikers. They're mountain boots, mountaineering boots. I love them. They're like slippers to me. But sometimes when it gets to be 10 degrees and you want to sit for 5 hours, an uninsulated boot can be a little bit tough. So I wear bigger boots. So I find myself wanting something a little bigger than the platform, which really the platform's not a whole lot smaller than the tree stand, really, because the tree stand says this is almost identical. It's actually, no, I can't even say it's smaller than a Lone Wolf Custom Gear 0.5. And they are now there is a company that is, I've heard, that's making these again. I'm not sure which one it is, but if you went on one of the saddlehunter.com or something like that and you typed in, hey, who could I see to talk about a Windwalker, I know they're making them again. And so let's just say a Lone Wolf Custom Gear 0.5, which is the absolute upper end of tree stands. Those are $500, $600, depending on the options you're gonna get. Are they worth it? Sure, they're the best tree stand out there, or even a beast stand. A beast stand is even lighter, I believe, but it's a little bigger. So if you're looking for something super duper small like mine, the beast stand's a little bigger. So that's why I don't mention, there's not one that's better than the other per se, but just all those upper tiered ones are all about the same level. But that stand brand new, I think, is only $200 now. So is it as adjustable in the tree? Probably not. I mean, it doesn't have all these adjustments to platform adjustments and seat adjustments, and you can tow hook it all you want. It's really not going to do a whole lot as far as to seat it at all. But for what that is, I got it for $20 at a yard sale. So I'm not going to complain, and it does everything I want it to do. And I can't even imagine, it's 30 years old. That blows my mind. But, so that's a not so quick look at what I use for tree stands and the reason why. So, until the next video.